Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back. So I thought that I would do a Q&A video today because I haven't done one in a little bit. And this one's really just sort of a random Walking Dead Q&A on a bunch of random questions. And so I'm going to get into that here. I actually asked for some questions on Twitter instead of Discord this time because usually I always do Discord. But this time I figured, you know what, I'll just do a Q&A on Twitter. And so, yeah, that's what I'm doing here. And yeah, of course, once again, thank you guys so much for all the support. Honestly, I do see the comments. I do see the messages. There's so many messages that I have that I'm just, I can't go through. Honestly, I can't go through. There are just too much, but I've been skimming through them all. I really do appreciate all of it. The support was honestly so insane. I'm forever grateful. Honestly, I'm forever thankful. So yeah, but let's actually get into the Q&A here. So definitely make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. Also, Last of Us, I'm not going to be doing a review for tonight for Sunday, but I will be doing a review for next Sunday's episode. And I'll catch up on the other 3 in the meantime. I'll do a review for all 3 episodes in just like one video, and then I'll stay on top of it from episode 4 going up until episode 10, I believe. I'm pretty sure there's 10 episodes. I've been seeing so many people saying, you have to talk about The Last of Us. You have to talk about The Last of Us. So I'll get on that. The show does look really great. But yeah, let's get into the first question here. So first question here from Flynn. How do you think Daryl got to France? Like boat or plane? And why do you think he's gone there? Like, is it Rick related or was he kidnapped? Personally, for me, like when I actually really think of the reasons why he would be there, it really does feel like it has to be Rick related. But it's going to be one of those things that they don't really find out anything about until like the end of the season. Like, I don't see Daryl discovering like or seeing Rick or something like that. You know, I see it being one of those things where the CRM or something takes him away. I mean, I could definitely see there being another plot, though, where maybe they came up with something, more creative, where it's just this random group, and this random group is maybe from France, but they were in the States, and so they traveled over, but they just sort of took him or whatever. So I could see a scenario like that. To me, that's the most, boring option, just because I do want there to be a little bit more connections here, with these shows, which it seems like, that is kind of what they're doing. Because I saw that interview with, I think it was with Gimple or Jeffrey Dean Morgan was one of them. And so I think that's probably most likely what it's going to be, is they're going to be connecting it a little bit more. So I think CRM related makes the most sense, but I don't think the show is going to revolve around the CRM, if that makes any sense. Like, I think it's just going to be one of those things where he was taken away while he was out there searching for Rick. Because you got to remember, too, I do think this show is going to be set like a year or 2 after the main show ended. He's been out there for a while looking for Rick, and we don't know what he's found. We don't know what that first episode's going to be like. And, something's likely going to happen where he's taken over there. In terms of if it's going to be by boat or by plane, that's the thing too, right? Like that really, if it is a plane, then it definitely tells me it's the CRM for sure. If it's a boat, it could still be the CRM, but I think it opens up the opportunity for other communities and stuff, right? So I think that, like, for sure, as of now, I do think it's going to be Rick related. And I really think it's because the premise of the show is Daryl wakes up in France and he doesn't know how he got there, sort of thing. And he's trying to put the pieces back together. There's going to be a bit of a mystery there. He's going to meet other people, and then we'll just sort of see, I guess, where we go from there. But that's roughly sort of how I see it playing out. I think he was taken there, and I think it's Rick related in the sense that it was just the Civic Republic that did it. Although I don't know if there was a connection between like why they did it, though, like the reasoning there, right? Like, I don't know if they know who Daryl is and so they took him away from Rick. I don't know if it was necessarily like that. I just think that it was CRM related in general. Second question here, and this is like my favorite question of all time here from the amazing Gemma. Do you think the new variant walkers will be in the spin-offs and do more than they did, I guess, in the Walking Dead, like run and etc.? I really hope so. Honestly, I think the new variant walkers are going to be in the spin-offs. They'll be in the Daryl spin-off for sure. Like that aggressive walker we saw in the post-credits, of World Beyond, that variant of walker will definitely be in the Daryl Dixon show. In terms of the other spin-offs, I'm really hoping so, because I think they need to start to change it up a little bit here. And when you look at The Last of Us and whatnot, it just kind of makes more sense to me that that's what they want to do. They want to focus on some of these changes in the zombies' behavior, because it makes things more exciting for fans, because there's that new horror element there. So I do think so. I'm hoping we'll get more in Dead City, because Dead City to me just seems like it's going to be just normal walkers. and it's going to be more the environment of being in New York City. There's supposed to be like 1 million walkers in the streets and stuff, so that sounds super cool, but I would like it to be, some sort of variant walkers there as well. And I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, how creative can you get with that? Like, you do want to get very creative, but it depends, because you're going to have to keep pushing it, right? So I'm excited for it. I really do. I love the idea of variant walkers. It's definitely changed the game quite a bit. It's honestly made things super, super exciting. So when it's all said and done, where do you see the spin-offs ending? Do you see them converging, ending for good? I have a hard time thinking about how it can end for good, considering the main show's ending. I don't think these spin-offs here, like the first seasons of these shows, first of all, Gimple recently referenced that, saying that these shows here, these are the first seasons of these shows. Now, I don't know if he included the Rick and Michonne show in that, but I mean, he didn't not include it, right? So we'll have to wait and see. I do think that with some of the shows, there is that opportunity for crossovers, because obviously Jeffrey Morgan talked about that recently. So I think it's just going to be expanding. I think this year is going to be really focused and centered on just making everything sort of, exciting again, rebuilding stuff. And I think that's going to be their main focus, really, and then we'll have to wait and see where they go, I guess, for season 2 and for 2024. But I feel like there's a reason why they pushed off the Rick and Michonne show until 2024. Like, there could be a lot more crossovers than we think. It really depends, but I don't see anything ending anytime soon. Like considering where the show ended and all the possibilities that we have now in terms of the story expanding, like, it's going to be going for a couple of years still. Do you think the CRM storyline ends in the Rick and Michonne spinoff, or just Rick's involvement with them? No, I don't see that storyline ending at all. Like, honestly, I still don't see the Rick and Michonne show ending with just one season. I really don't, unless it's going to be like that show ends, and maybe, certain characters from that show, maybe Rick is done, but Michonne's not done. Or maybe vice versa, right? Maybe Michonne is done, but then Rick's not done, right? Like, I feel like maybe that show just ends their story, which obviously sounds very tragic, so maybe not. But I just kind of feel like there is going to be a season 2. There's no way it's going to be just what it is. Or maybe both characters obviously survive, but this story is about how they reunite, how they find each other. And then going into other shows, those characters will just appear in other shows, sort of thing. That's kind of how I see it. I don't see the CRM story ending in this show because there's just too much that's happening there. How do you feel about Siddiq dying and basically making Carl's death worthless on the show? As a fan of the comics, it made me even more mad because Carl didn't need to die in the first place. Honestly, for me, it didn't bother me too much, because at that point, it was just sort of, I just wanted them to sort of kill off any character, because at that point they weren't really killing off a lot of characters. When you look back at it, though, I mean, I think that's the thing. Like, you could say that, like, you could definitely say that, but I also disagree with the idea that, like, just because a character is so important to some other character's, I guess, meaning or legacy, that character can't ever die now. I think definitely there is that element to it, but because Judith is still around, I don't think it necessarily takes away from Carl. Like, if Judith was gone already and other characters that were connected to Carl, were gone, and it was only Siddiq left, then definitely I would have some issues with it. But there's a lot of characters on the show, like, I always kind of say, well, like with Maggie, I don't want Maggie to die on the show because she's sort of the connection to the farm and stuff, right? But you do have to, like, at some point, not necessarily follow that. I think you can honor that legacy for a while. I think she has for many, many years here on the show and just in the Walking Dead universe in general. But we also have Herschel now, right? So I think that part of it too is definitely something that is a lot more important in that sense, right? Like, you do want to sort of create this legacy and do that. And that's why I think with Siddiq dying, it didn't bother me that much because we still have Judith and stuff, right? Like, she can carry on Carl's legacy. We still have Rick, right? So which characters do you think will appear in the Rick and Michonne spinoff, apart from Rick and Michonne, lol? I don't think any other characters are going to appear in that show. There's just going to be brand new characters, in my opinion. I think there could be like a post-credit scene type thing if they want to do a season 2 and they announce it and it's like all, they make it all epic and whatever. But I don't think there's going to be any other characters in that show. We recently learned that the premise for Dead City is that Herschel was taken, and was there a connection with Padre, or could there be a connection? I mean, I never heard that, so I don't know if that's actually the premise. I mean, I've been out of it for a bit, so I'll have to do some research. If that is the premise, yeah, I could totally see that connection being there, considering, they're ending Fear the Walking Dead this year, and then Dead City is airing, and, Yeah, I could totally see there being a really strong connection there, especially with Madison and Alicia. I mean, that would be really cool. I'd be so down for that. Who do you think is the most underrated character across all of the Walking Dead universe? I always say Bob. I love Bob as a character. He's just one of my favorite characters of all time. Incredible actor, honestly, incredible actor. If you would want anyone from Fear to be on one of the spinoffs, who would it be? Well, I mean, I guess I would have to say, I guess probably Alicia at this point, because I think it's the most realistic because she's off the show. And I could totally see her on Dead City. Favorite moments. Also, I'll combine this with another question, your favorite season. So it's sort of all related here. So I would have to say, looking back at it now, like now that it's been a couple of months since the show's over, I still have to say season 4 is probably one of my favorite seasons or favorite moments. Like I really do love season 9 and it does have my favorite episode, but in terms of nostalgia and how I'm feeling and stuff in general about the show, I think that season 4 is probably one of my favorites, mostly because I really like the episode A. I think it was just, when you see Rick in that moment of just pure desperation for survival, like it's so inspiring. It's so epic and amazing. I always have to choose this episode. And the last question here, do you think there were behind the scenes problems with Chandler Riggs' contract and that was why he was killed off the show? I don't know. I know there was a lot of stuff that we used to talk about, back then. I just don't know exactly because it's just, I don't know. At this point, honestly, it's one of those things where I just like don't even really care to speculate on anymore because that was just years ago at this point. Maybe it was a thing. Like, honestly, maybe it was a thing, but at this point, I just think that it was a mistake to take him off the show because I think him being on the show right now or being in the Walking Dead universe in general would be so amazing. But we do have Judith and stuff. But I mean, obviously, Carl is Carl. Carl isn't Judith. And I do miss Carl. So I just, I'll say that I definitely think that it was a mistake to kill that character off. But yeah, thank you guys so much for all of your questions. Honestly, I really enjoyed doing this. It's been a while. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video and I'll see you guys in the next one.